Welcome back to Tallahassee, Florida, where we're just moments away from our next game between SK Telecom and FNATIC. As I'm joined here by Invitational and Quickshot to preview that one. Now, this means if FNATIC manages to beat out SKT, they clinch their spot in the playoffs because they do own the head-to-head versus TSM. At least it is something, but for FNATIC in general, it just hasn't been looking that well, and SKT has been looking unstoppable.
Yeah, and I think that's why this game here for FNATIC, they don't really have to think too much about what's going to happen. Nobody expects them to win the game. It's all about Besiktas later on, because if they win that match, they're in the top 4 anyway, with Team Soulmate losing earlier today. So honestly, if you are FNATIC, take it easy here. Try your best, obviously.
In theory in the top 4.
Sure.
However, the last time Europe needed to beat a wildcard team to make playoffs, the wildcard team stepped up to North America's aid, kaboom happened, and Alliance was taken down.
Anyway.
Yes. So, yes, in theory I agree.
That's why you focus on the next game.
There should be no pressure. There should be no pressure on FNATIC's shoulders because it should all be about the next game. But we need to see it. This is still SKT. This is still Faker they're playing against. It's a tough match.
Exactly. And as said, SK Telecom, you know, reminiscent of their old form, they are looking very unstoppable, and a lot of roles just you have to shut down.
Yeah, definitely. Number 1, don't give Bengi Rek'Sai. Stop it. Like, we've learned that already. Number 2, Marin is a monster. We were looking at some of the stats. He's got a 750 gold lead average at the 10-minute mark across the games that he's already played. There is nobody that's been able to stand toe-to-toe with him. But one thing that I do like is Marin, along with Huni, on their respective teams, is actually dealing the highest percentage of their team's damage in total as well. So it's nice to see these sort of carry, damage-dealing champions back in the meta and back in shining, because I got a bit tired of the Sion Maokais that we were seeing in Europe a lot.
And this really is one of the problems for FNATIC in this matchup. Normally back in the ULCS, Huni would honestly be a level above most of the top laners, and he could be the big carry. Marin will stand toe-to-toe for sure in this matchup. Then it's about the bottom side of the map, and that's why they've struggled so much already from FNATIC's side. So in order to beat SK Telecom, if you cannot win any of the lanes, then you have to look at a jungle matchup. Bengi's been on fire. I'm not sure where FNATIC has the advantage, and that's why I think this match is nearly impossible for them.
Yeah, very interesting point. Also bringing up Huni. Huni is also a lot of the times the catalyst when FNATIC wants to go in. It's Yellowstar and him. Huni just teleports, and they try and force fights even though they are at the disadvantage. And I feel like if you make one of those mistakes versus SKT, it is over before it's begun.
I completely agree. And when we were doing a lot of our prep leading up to this tournament, we were talking about how Huni helps the duo lane win. And Huni prioritizes a lot of his teleports onto that lane because Rain overspends his time in the top lane. So it's this nice, in theory, snowball effect. I do think there is a small saving grace. Please take this with a pinch of salt. I think Bang and Wolf, while they are incredible and are still in theory stronger than Steelback and Yellowstar, I don't think they are quite as badly outclassed as Deft and Maiko. We just saw them performing there. And if FNATIC can be smart and try find a lane swap, maybe they can avoid some of that and try get control of the tempo, because head-to-head, they've been outclassed in so many of the games.
I think lane swap is the one, because I think Bang and Wolf together has probably been the strongest duo lane we're going to see as well. Also, the champion pool they do have makes it nearly impossible for Steelback to play anything. If Sivir's banned away, that's been his main pick back in Europe as well, like where he had let's say the most impact on the game. That's not going to happen for him. So we're going to have to see great teleports coming in from Huni. We're going to have to see Raynor put focus on that lane as well if they want to make sure Steelback and Yellowstar wins it, because Steelback so far, honestly, his performance overall, it's been terrible. He is like behind 30 CS at 10 minutes. He has a KD under 1. If you look at the last few games he's played. So FNATIC needs to find a way to make sure he survives the laning phase. I think lane swapping is what you have to do. Put him in a lane swap. Don't put him in the 2v2 lane. And just try and draw out the early game a little bit. And then start making plays in the mid game with some teleports and hope you can surprise SK Telecom.
Hope you can surprise must be what they are banking on here. We will see now as we head up to the caster's booth for a look at the teams. We'll hear on how the spread of the Korean talent around the world is changing the game for even the most historically dominant teams.
저 같은 경우에는 지금까지 해외 대회에 나가가지고 진 적이 거의 없고, 또 그리고 연습 게임에서도 거의 진 적이 없었는데 이번 경우에는 좀 해외 다른 한국 선수들도 많이 나갔고, 또 다른 해외 팀의 수준이 많이 올라왔다 보니까 좀 예전처럼 그렇게 쉽게 이기긴 힘들 것 같고.
Hey guys, welcome back to the caster desk. I'm Doa, that's Monte Cristo, and that is Jat as well. And we are about to move into SKT versus FNATIC. Let's take a look at the lineups for both teams. It's going to be a pretty crazy game, but I've got a feeling going to be a little bit of a tough one for Fnatic. There, of course, is SK Telecom, T1, Marn in the top line, Bengi in the jungle, Faker in mid lane, Bang and Wolf in the bot lane, and of course, Coach Koma.
Yeah, I like how Faker said it wasn't going to be easy, but he said nothing about not winning. The other side is going to be Fnatic in this game. They are the red side, of course. We got hoonie in the top lane, who had a great game one against TSM, but has since looked a little bit lackluster. Rain over in the jungle, Febiven in mid, Steel back on AD carry, needs to step it up. Yellow Star on support, of course.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is talk about struggling. Steelback has had probably one of the worst events I think we've ever seen him have, and now he has to play against Bang and Wolf. Monty, is there any chance, like, what do you do? Do you have to lane swap? Do you just get away from the 2v2?
I don't really know what Fnatic can do here. I think that lane swapping against Marin and the expertise in lane swaps of SKT is a fast way to get Marin ahead, and Marin has been such a major carry threat this tournament that it may prove difficult, but I am looking forward to seeing the Huni-Marin matchup is really interesting to me because of how much percentage damage they're dealing. And this is really new for SKT because traditionally, over the course of this season, it's been mid lane that's been dealing the damage.
Yeah, that's the thing that I hope we see this game is a good Marin versus Huni matchup. I think that's what a few of the bans should be targeted towards if you're SKT. We had some predictions for what we thought were going to be in pick ban phase, but it's actually Urgot that's going to be the first ban here.
That's right, guys.
SKT.
It's time to move into picks and bans for SK Telecom versus Fnatic. First ban is Urgot. We'll see what Fnatic chooses to take off the table as their first ban as well. What do you think the priorities are here, guys?
Well, here's the thing. Faker is an undefeated champion for SKT. Sorry, LeBlanc is an undefeated champion for Faker. Yeah. Faker's also an undefeated champion in international events.
Yeah.
But LeBlanc is almost always a given ban at some point, and there it is.
And the Urgot ban confuses me a little bit because we have seen, even though Fnatic has been prioritizing it as a first pick on blue side, Steelback's just been dove on that champion because of his weakness early on and Urgot's weakness with the tier pre-6.
Thing is, we were thinking about the pick and ban phase, and the only way Fnatic would come out ahead here is if they try and trade power picks back with SK Telecom. One of those power picks that we were going to force, that Fnatic was going to force SKT to pick, would be the Urgot. So at this point, it's just SK Telecom trying to keep their options open with their banning phase and trying to get rid of the things they'd be afraid of actually either being forced to first pick or give up on the other side.
See, to me it looks like SKT is setting up for a possible first pick Rek'Sai right here with the Urgot LeBlanc already gone. Possibly Rumble as well, depending on what Fnatic bans here in the last place. It will be Rek'Sai, so probably going to be Rumble first pick.
Finally, 6 games in a row, we saw Bengi on Rek'Sai going all the way back.
But the Lulu is available. That has been a huge pickup. Are we going to maybe see SKT run that dreaded Juggermaw?
Well, they probably won't run the Juggermaw. They've been liking the Sivir more. So I think if you play around SKT, because when they don't go for this ultra tank, they default to Faker playing Lulu in the mid lane, and they play a mid-game pick composition with Sivir and Lulu speed to catch people unawares. They'll probably play Maokai with this, I would assume.
Yeah. And Maokai for Marin is like one of the scariest champs in League of Legends right now. I believe he was like 13-1 coming into this tournament, hasn't gotten to play it yet.
Yeah, and the picks could just line up for SKT down the board. Fnatic should kind of see this coming in a sense, and SK Telecom knows who they're playing against. They know that Fnatic needs to snowball the mid game early. They're potentially even preventing SK Telecom from getting this, and Steelback, Sivir is by far his best champion to play in games like this. He's not going to crush you with mechanics in laning phase. Sivir's a champion who can shove up lanes, be effective in team fights just with the move speed from the ultimate, and have success that way. Those are 2 very smart picks there by Fnatic.
So probably with this composition, with the Sivir takeaway, when this happened before in the match versus CJ, what SKT did was they played Lucian, and they may play Nunu here just to buff up Lucian in the late game. But this composition is going to be all about Faker pushing in early on this Lulu in the mid lane and playing a very harass-centric style, playing for picks around the dragon, and then trying to get Bang to, as much as he can, hard carry if they go to the late game.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. We'll see what they pick up. Still thinking about it. Spending a lot of time on this, actually. Obviously, Bengi would do just fine on that Nunu. Time is ticking down, though. There's a Lucian. And what's the second pick going to be? Gnar. Okay, well, Marin certainly has been performing. Oh, switching over to Rumble.
Okay.
That's actually pretty important right there. If we look at when people target ban Huni in most games, it's Rumble Hecarim that they get rid of him. We didn't see a Rumble ban here. So taking that away and then forcing Huni onto something else is actually pretty solid there from SKT. Fnatic will need to make sure they're keeping their dragon fight strong and their mid-game powerful with these picks. Vladimir is what he normally goes to in the top lane, but it might not have time to ramp up because SKT will control the bottom side, and who needs to have an impact on that part of the map long before he'd be ready to.
Yeah, I mean, you're really looking at level 12, 11 before Vladimir really starts getting rolling, when he starts getting in some points in his E in those team fights. So I think that would be a pretty problematic pick right here.
Well, against a team like SK Telecom, you're just not going to survive long enough to get that. Maybe the Cassiopeia pick, though.
It is a flex pick now that we know for Fnatic.
Yeah, Huni did play that once before in the top lane yesterday.
However, Fabiven's Cassiopeia was quite poor when we saw him try and play it earlier in this tournament.
So I suppose it makes it a little bit more obvious, but hey, could still go mid.
I think there's a decent chance it goes either way. If it's a top lane Cassiopeia for Fnatic, it is extremely risky depending on the jungle pick from SKT, because top lane Cassiopeia is very vulnerable to jungle pressure, which is not something Fnatic faced against TSM. So I actually do really like having Cassiopeia as the 4th pick there with the intention of flexing it for their last choice. It gives them a high amount of damage. SKT, let's see how they finish this one up. They have to pick their jungler here.
We saw that pretty incredible game from Wolf on Alistar yesterday, of course, against TSM, and it looks like it will probably be that Nunu for Bengi. Not too surprising for SK Telecom, but again, a really scary composition.
Well, it's another one of these things from SK Telecom where the impact from Faker is mainly just about the vision control and the dragon control. SKT will try and take control of the Dragon Side River, the Scuttle Crab, everything around that spot, and their damage isn't overwhelming.
But what they'll do here, and we have seen a lot of ganks from Bengi in the past, and obviously the threat of Huni getting really big on a less gank-oriented jungler like Nunu is pretty severe. But in this case, they have bullies in the bottom and in the mid lane. If that Cassiopeia is going there, we'll see what the last pick is. But if they can just shove it up, Nunu will just solo dragon by himself, and there won't be the fights, but they're still going to try and wrap up that objective pretty early.
So that final pick for Fnatic. And it's going to tell us a lot, too. It's going to tell us where that Cassiopeia is going to be. It's going to tell us maybe what the plan of Fnatic is going to shape up to be.
Fnatic already has a lot of crowd control and initiation right there from the Sejuani as well as the Nautilus. So they're free to do a lot of things here.
Maybe the Gnar. Yep, it will be. Okay, so Gnar going to be going to the top lane for Fnatic. Unless it's a mid Gnar. Maybe they'll send Caspi up there anyway. No, probably not. There we go.
It's Europe. So, you never know where Gnar is going.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's a good point, actually.
Could be the jungle. We've seen that before from Kikas. All right, so
Sejuani, why not?
Yeah, looking at this, it's actually going to be an extremely mid-game focused game overall. And Fnatic has been losing these games before the mid-game. If they don't lose within the first 5 minutes, then we're going to start seeing some dragon fights for this one, because that's Fnatic's option here. Huni, I wonder if he's going to go early home guard boots or something to try and keep up with the dragon fighting here.
Yeah, the scaling, though, for Fnatic is pretty darn good in this situation, but the last time SKT played a composition with mid Lulu, when we saw them go up against CJ, Bang had that standout game on Lucian to actually pretty much hard carry them through, even against a very good late game composition from CJ.
That's right. So as we get ready, guys, our fans getting psyched. SK Telecom versus Fnatic, of course. And again, SKT, nobody can take dragons against these guys. Will Fnatic get the first one? The coach is shaking hands, and we are about to move on to Summoner's Rift. Remember, tweet at LOL Esports, guys, with the hashtags SKT win or FNC win to let us know who you think is going to come out on top in this game. In the meantime, though, it is time, guys. Our 4th game of the day, SK Telecom versus Fnatic. It's time to get in the game.
Yeah, and we've seen some pretty overwhelming victories by SKT thus far in the group stage. 3-0 right now, but they actually do need to continue winning if they want to lock down that #1 seed. They have to go 5-0 pretty much with the way AHQ has been performing.
Yeah.
And Fnatic has looked pretty atrocious since that TSM game, so this is something that they would like for some confidence to at least not get crushed.
Well, here we go. Welcome to Summoner's Rift. Fnatic, it's been a rough tournament for them so far, but a win over SK Telecom, would do them quite well, and would be a huge moral victory for the whole EU scene. SK Telecom, though, coming into today perfect after their 3-0 yesterday, and we'll see if they show any signs of slowing down. I'm kind of doubting it, but who knows?
Well, not only perfect in terms of game score, but perfect in terms of Dragons, perfect in terms of Baron.
Doesn't really get too much more perfect than that, does it?
No, not over the course of several games.
Yeah. Well, wards going down for both sides here. Looks like a little bit of an advantage for FNATIC, wanting to get these really deep wards in.
Yeah, FNATIC is trying to get the brute force lane swap wards, which honestly, in my opinion, is an older strategy. They blind invade, they didn't ward their backside, they were spotted coming in, so this gives SKT all of the flexibility. Luckily, FNATIC did leave one retreat ward in the mid lane, so that has actually tipped them off at least a little bit to where SKT could be going.
Yeah, Marin still seen in the top side as well. So will we see that lane swap coming in? Or steal back in those 2v2s along with Yellowstar. It's been a little bit shaky so far this tournament.
It's been a bit tough.
Yeah, at least at this point in the lane swap, because they did get spotted by the Rumble in particular coming in, they know at least the starting position of the Rumble. So if SKT wanted to put their bottom lane anywhere but bottom, FNATIC would know about it. There's just no logical reason at this point for SKT to do that, because they do want their bottom lane and their strength down this way.
All right, so we'll be Gromp start over here for Steelback and Yellowstar, getting that experience. Meanwhile, SKT running the same start that we saw them run against TSM, starting at that red buff with the leash and then walking into lane.
Yeah, and when they did that against TSM, it allowed Bengi to quickly rush level 3 and run top lane for a gank because Darius was playing extremely aggressively. Huni is also known for extreme aggression early on in the game, but it's a much different change up here where they're actually going for some counter juggling.
Yeah, very interesting. Switching it over to the blue buff instead. So going buff to buff right there, considering that he does have that timer, considering...
Ooh, a lot of action early on in this bot lane. Yellowstar taking a ton of damage. Well, they do get that little bit quicker level 2, though. They're still positioning here. Wolf and Bang finally hitting level 2 there as well. Nice trade, though, onto Bang.
I can't believe that SKT actually hit level 2 at the same time that FNATIC did. They were able to push the minions so quickly. How did FNATIC knock through those minions faster with the Gromp experience advantages beyond me? But SKT gets out of that lane with an edge, burning the flash off of Nautilus.
Yellowstar having to flash to get out of that one already. A rough 2v2 for FNATIC.
So Rainover is looking for a gank right here. He's thinking that Bengi's coming top side when Bengi's just counter jungling right now. So he's completely changed his tactic up from the last game. He's waiting for Bengi at the moment. Not going to find him there.
If this gank is not successful for Rainover, he is worlds behind the jungle matchup.
He's going to try it out. Coming in, there's a flash for the knockup. Marin flashes in response and will get away pretty easily. And now that does set Rainover pretty far behind.
Yeah, because his entire blue side of the jungle has been countered. The Scuttle Crab control is over to Bengi, and unless someone on FNATIC can see that this has happened, remember, there's no knowledge for Rainover. Rainover needs to take a chance here, and it would have to be a blind invade in the blue buff to catch up, but he is still just rolling around the river, and this is SKT's game.
Yeah, and this is what we were talking about earlier. We've had a lot of conversations. What happens if Bengi doesn't get this Rex side? Because he's been playing to the lanes, playing to the gank so hard. And one thing about Bengi is his playstyle alters drastically when he plays this Nunu. Right. And you could see entirely different strategy. Same camp start, but very, very different outcome than TSM. And it's completely fooled Rainover.
Yeah, look at that. At 4 minutes, a little past, the first dragon is going to go to SK Telecom. And again, still perfect in dragons. Bengi doing his best Tom impression, going in and taking that one early.
And that's exactly right. They have the bot pressure, they had the mid pressure, straight into the dragon. They're going to be able to give Faker this first blue buff on their side. I'm sure that's probably where Bengi's going to head off to next once he recalls, something that SK Telecom likes to do.
Everybody likes to recall Monte Cristo. You can go back and buy items when you do that. It's a great idea. Yeah.
I mean, the fact that FNATIC started this game with Gromp, whereas SKT gave an enhanced pull to their jungler and is still getting more than doubled in CS is pretty indicative of why FNATIC is outclassed in this matchup. They cannot lane 2v2 against Bang and Wolf, and even when they did lane 2v2, they completely forfeited that entire side of their jungle. Bengi invaded it, counter-jungled pretty much everything, left a small Wolf, so Rainover's still denying an experience.
Yeah.
And it might just go from bad to worse here.
And honestly, Rainover right there could have checked the blue buff just to make sure that's what was going on, because he had no indication of where Bengi was. Could have poked into the jungle, went for the crab instead. Now Bengi
Well, snowball fights in the jungle. Rainover going to chase Bengi back as Huni comes down. He's going to be Meganar right away. Misses that Q though. Marin backing away, getting a bit of positioning. There's a knock up onto Bengi. Rainover still chasing. Fnatic getting a little bit low together though, but this 2v2 could go either way. SKT doesn't feel confident enough. They're backing off right now. Marin turns around for a parting shot onto Huni. Meanwhile,
Fnatic ate a lot of damage from the overheated flame-spitting rumble from Marin right there.
Yeah.
Even without his flash, he was able to posture enough threat to prevent the chase through from Fnatic. And really nice gank avoidance there by Marin.
Yeah, Huni also missing skill shots.
doesn't help.
That's pretty important.
Yeah, well, Bengi's just going to start that blue buff. We'll see if Faker comes by to grab that one. Doesn't look like he really has the opportunity now. We'll see if he heads up. Looks like Bengi might just take this one. He's a hungry Yeti.
He's going to wait.
Nope, wait. No, you got it. Too slow.
For his consume, he will wait.
Sorry, Faker. Bengi waits for no man. Not even Faker. Meanwhile, Faker has plenty of mana anyway. Still doing just fine in that mid lane. And why not do a bit more counter jungling? Get another ward or two down.
So one unfortunate thing in this game for Fnatic is because Rainover was counter jungled early by Nunu. Normally, even though Nunu and Sejuani are both tank junglers, Sejuani at least has a bit better ganking presence early. Nunu doesn't obviously have the move block in order to do so. And with Faker pushed up so heavily, he would be a prime target for a Rainover gank, but he hasn't been able to do so.
Huni coming in.
He's trying to do
There's
it.
Meganar. There's the ult. Faker will go ahead and try to survive here. Is he going to be able to do it? Getting really low. No. First blood goes over to Febvin in the mid lane. Nice gank onto Faker.
That's been one of Faker's faults this tournament. We saw it against Besiktas as well, where he plays very aggressively, has missed some of these roams, not only the lane swap, but a very clever mid lane or roam by the top laner Huni, and Marin not really calling that one out.
It's actually the second time Huni's roamed down there. Because of the early gank from Rainover, burning the flash has given Huni some freedom to do so. And Monty, this time it was just one person coming for Faker, not the whole team. So
Yeah.
Fnatic doesn't actually lose that much from this.
No.
As far as the first 8 minutes of a Fnatic game, since the TSM match against AHQ or against EDG, this is the best Fnatic has been off.
Sure enough. I mean, the thing is we're actually starting to see Faker give up a lot of first bloods in the mid lane late. We saw a little bit in Korea too, but it hasn't really slowed them down too much. Either way, it's going to give Febvin a nice little boost here in lane. Just picking up a lot of MR so far. Oh, Bengi coming in from behind him though. Faker with that Whimsy, they're going to slow him down a little bit with the snowball as well. Febvin turns, and I don't think they're going to do quite enough damage there. Even Faker with that Ignite. It's like he doesn't know he can change summoner spells away. It's like it always has to be Ignite Flash no matter what. Lulu, Ignite Flash.
Well, coming into this one too, in that gank, Faker decided not to use either of his summoners, pretty much just saying he was dead, and then they got a summoner in response. So it's going to be about whether SK Telecom can actually follow up on the summoners that they've managed to get out of Febvin, because kill pressure definitely over to Faker right now.
The chance that they're going to have to follow up will obviously be this Dragon number 2. They got it so early on. Fnatic only has a rough idea of when it will have gone down, and they will not have the Cassiopeia flash in these difficult corridors. With both top laners thinking of coming in right here, having your summoner spells for that Dragon fight is arguably more important than making a gank more difficult, because Faker was probably dead either way in that mid lane. And Febvin had to flash for his life because he could actually escape the gank. But now SKT can try and use that in the Dragon number 2 fight.
Totally true. It is going to be really nice to have that flash and Ignite for this next Dragon. That's up in about a minute. Looks like Febvin.
Oh, he took the blue.
Rainover. Oh, well, that's a little bit of a problem.
And that's very important, because they could have had blue buff advantage right there.
Yeah.
SKT's blue coming up a little bit later.
And with the way that Faker is continually shoving Febvin back into the turret right there, it is going to run his mana down to half before this potentially apocalyptic fight here at Dragon.
Apocalyptic, wow.
I was trying to think of a big word. I think I reached a little too far.
Ragnarok-esque fight. That's right. Well, Wolf might be the end times for him if he's not careful here. Pulverized, gets stunned by Yellow Star. He's going to just kind of guard in that very disturbing skin that he's using. Cowboy Alistar, I don't know. That thing still gives me the creeps. It's weird.
So, pink ward control. Went over a little bit to SKT right now. Still, Yellow Star gets in, eliminates one of his own. Rather than going to go back 2 seconds before Dragon spawn.
Yeah, that might be a little bit rough. We'll see if SK Telecom reacts. There's Bang trying to push Steel back out of lane. He does a decent amount of damage with the culling, with just auto attacks after that dash. Oh, Steel back push way out. Bang taking a little bit of chuckle damage, but not as much of a worry with that Alistar as your lane partner. Meanwhile, Bengi starting to zone a bit. SK Telecom, we'll see if they can get a hold of this Dragon.
All the setup in the world, if your AD carry gets chunked out like that before a Dragon fight, you're not thinking of contesting. So now SKT might be trying to do a bait and switch up here and maybe just catch him out, because they know that since the Sivir is so low, that even if they commit a Lulu to the top lane, it's a free roam right there. Missed opportunity because Huni obviously went back.
Right. Huni also in that Mega Gnar, not the best time to gank a top lane Gnar. Oh, Rainover chasing Bengi, didn't quite get the little knockup. And Bengi will just hide out on his opponent's ward. Not the best place to hide.
Yeah, so a little bit of a delay here.
Yeah.
As Fnatic buys themselves enough time just to hold on to some level of river control for a little bit. Steelback slowly healing back up, and here we go, Bengi with the snowball.
Yep, coming in, trying to protect that ward that they know is seen by that pink ward. Rainover, Oathwall trying to get away. Here comes Bang, Steelback advancing as well, still a bit lower on the health. Here comes the teleport coming in. Bengi getting very low, uses that ult. Absolute Zero goes off. Yellowstar gets the kill anyway. Wolf in a little bit of trouble, but here comes Faker, here comes Mara. Rainover coming in, getting taken down. Meanwhile, another kill though comes in. Marin zoning pretty well, and Yellowstar back out for the moment. Marin getting really low, and Huni's about to go Mega Gnar. I think SKT has been pushed away from this Dragon. This one might go to Fnatic. Marin might go down. Huni grabs the kill. What a play! And Bang and Faker have to retreat under the turret. Fnatic winning that team fight.
And that was a great teleport from Huni right into that one. We saw the teleport from Marin as well, but it was a little bit off to the side, and even though we got that equalizer down in the choke point, it was a little too late. So I'll take a look at that one again.
We talked about monsters in the mid lane before this tournament, but it's really been the top laners and their impact with teleport right here, because the fight when it starts is initiated by Fnatic, but it's the teleport early from Huni right there to have the bigger impact. When Marin came in with the Rumble, the equalizer is actually not that effective because the rest of Fnatic is able to move through it right there. It didn't block their pathway pretty much at all, and then the rest of this fight was just Huni hanging on with the low amount of health in order to get this kill onto Marin.
Yeah, also Fabibin was just chasing Marin right there, landing a ton of ease before he could even get into that team fight, so he showed up without a lot of HP. Wow. And here we go, right back to the Dragon. Fnatic did choose to recall.
Yep, that's right. Bengi lurking close by as well, as so is Wolf right behind the pit. Looks like they might just give this one up though. It's not the biggest deal, I suppose, if Fnatic takes it, but hey, Fnatic, the first team this tournament to get a Dragon against SK Telecom. How about that?
Yeah, well played.
Wow.
Great job by Fnatic, especially overcoming this huge disadvantage in the bottom lane. Steelback and Yellowstar, just tracking the gold in this game already. It's already a 900 gold difference between Bang and Steelback, so that will definitely be a problem as this moves on, because not only does Bang have the one-on-one advantage, he will also get the added support of a Nunu and a Lulu. If we're talking about Bang being able to solo carry games, that's almost what he's going to have to end up doing this game. You know, the scaling from Fnatic is still pretty spectacular, so there's actually not that long, and Bang has to really extend this advantage as far as possible.
Well, we know Bang is capable of carrying games in the clutch for SK Telecom. That's how SKT managed to get to the finals of champions just a week ago, a couple weeks ago. So not a big worry there.
Well, the difference, though, between that game, you really can't underestimate how important that Dragon for Fnatic was. Because SKT has to accelerate this game towards 5 Dragons and continue to get that 5th Dragon with a composition like this to make up for their weaker scaling. So that was actually very crucial in the win that they had against CJ. So delaying that for Fnatic is absolutely huge.
Faker just going to pick up a little bit more CS in lane. But Fnatic, they've got the opportunity that we're looking for. And now, I mean, what do you do at this point if you're Fnatic to sort of keep this going? Oh, never mind, a little bit of fight in the top lane. Ward does go, tower does go down later, but Bengi will go down. Whoa. Up top, Fnatic managing to catch him there. Here comes Marin, the Yellowstar there to protect Rainover. I don't think he's going to be able to pick that one up. No, Marin has to go back and sit under turret.
Good run by Yellowstar, but he is leaving Steelback out a bit to dry on that bottom side. He's now behind.
We're going to keep going.
Whoa, here comes Rainover back over the wall again. This may not have been wise, but here comes Huni. Martin in a little bit of trouble, and Fnatic gets another one. What is going on?
I really like Fnatic's adaptation here, because they basically just left Steel back there to do what he can, but they're actually trying to make plays where they have the strength on the map right now, and it's really working out. And Marin has been a big carry force throughout this tournament, and they're starting to shut him down.
And FNATIC is playing around Huni. We were really excited for this Huni versus Marin matchup. The jungle pressure early was favored towards Huni. Reignover gave him those early ganks, and both in the Dragon fight and that gank there, it's been about Huni's impact in these things. To answer your earlier question, though, about what FNATIC needs to do, they need to continue to play around Huni, and they also need to stop Bang from accelerating this game via turret kills. So any type of turret defense or counter pushes is absolutely crucial for FNATIC.
Makes sense. Well, SKT was able to get that first turret of the game down in bot lane right as that gank up in top was happening. But that's about all they've got going for them at the moment. Gold's still pretty even, of course, because of that CS situation between the lanes. In fact, down in bot, way ahead. SKT looking to take their second turret here. Let's see if they let them.
One thing Marin did do in this top side is steal back.
Oh boy, here comes Reignover. Steelback getting roasted by Marin, but now Marin in a little bit of trouble again. Really desperate for that kill. On to Steelback, can't get it. Some desperation creeping into Marin's moves here on the map. Now Bengi caught out in the jungle. This may cost FNATIC their top turret, but either way, it's going to be another kill maybe for FNATIC. Bengi trying to back away. So close, but it looks like, oh, maybe he'll be able to make it. But here comes Febinim over the wall. A kill for Febinim, gets exhausted immediately. Huni hopping to safety, but here comes Faker. A kill for Bang. Wolf knocking Febinim out of the fight for now. They're going to keep chasing. This may be another one. Will it be the double for Faker? Taking a lot of damage, but it will be. Meanwhile, a turret goes down in bot. That is true. Reignover could try to do something. Meanwhile, Marin back in bot lane. The turret's evened up.
He tried to get the kill right there with the home guard engage, but couldn't quite find it even after TPing down into that bottom side.
Yeah, that's a lot of pressure lost from SKT after that, because we think about that fight that happened. It was a 2-for-2, but at the end of the day, it was a turret defense for FNATIC and a turret take for them in the bottom lane as well. FNATIC is showing here that they are the most inconsistent team at MSI. Because,
I guess so, yeah.
Because this is what FNATIC can look like when they're at their best sometimes. With Huni going around and making plays, Reignover is free to gank and be a huge factor. Those two in conjunction with strong play from Febiven, this is the map control and team fighting that FNATIC got the European LCS Championship with.
Yeah, and there we go. Turret finally goes down. Marin was able to push up that lane for most of this game, so just a little bit of HP left on that one. I'd love to see the mid lane turret, see how that's going. About 50% right now.
Yep.
Okay.
50% health on the mid lane turret.
And Steelback doing whatever he can to kind of get back into this game gold-wise. Still way behind in CS, but farming in a bit of the jungle.
And you can see that SKT is trying to abuse that as much as possible. Every time there's an outer turret, that's the lane that Bang is going for, which should end up being a magnet for team fights if you're FNATIC right now, because they're the ones that control the Sejuani and the Nautilus for initiation tools, and they should be attacking SKT wherever SKT goes to try and accelerate this turret game.
Well, Faker having to go up to the top lane to save that turret, but it has like basically no health remaining. Meanwhile, FNATIC pressuring mid. Bang trying to save it as best he can. For the moment anyway, SK Telecom has a turret lead, but I don't think that's going to last. What is going to be interesting here is in 30 seconds, the next dragon pops up, and FNATIC already trying to clear out a little bit of vision there. Wolf doesn't like that. And here comes Bengi. Reignover has to retreat over the wall. Looks like they'll clear each other's wards out for now.
Still, it's a tough position for SKT.
Yeah.
Huni has his TP up. Marin does not, because he didn't get that kill onto Steelback with it in the bottom side, and now they're going to try and take that turret and delay SKT as long as possible on this dragon, and then try and force a fight after.
A couple of differences between this dragon and the last one. The deep ward coverage by SKT is extraordinary, and this time they don't have to wait for Marin to teleport in. He can get an instant equalizer, so if FNATIC wanted to fight, they would be late to the party.
Well, here we go. SK Telecom able to burst down this dragon and take it. They'll trade their top turret for it, but now they move into the mid lane. Will they maybe be able to take down the final outer turret of FNATIC here?
Rumble's going back to defend tier 2.
Yep. For now, we do have Huni coming in from behind, too. For the moment. Thinking about it. Nope, back to top lane.
He has to recall extremely quickly.
Uh-oh. Yeah, he's got to get out of here there, but here comes Marin. Can he get out? Flame Spitter.
Smart.
Okay, that works.
Smart in the sense that it saved his life.
Yeah.
Not smart in the sense that he had stuck around that long after the dragon had been forfeited. He was trying to create a little bit of pressure. If he was going to burn the teleport for that rotation, they would have needed something elsewhere, but the minion waves are just not in play. So that was a decent-sized mistake from Huni, and it eliminates their teleport threat that they would have in the next fight.
No recall for Feb, and he's going to need to back off a little bit slower here. Yeah, TP advantage will go over to SK Telecom for a little while once Marins comes back up, which won't be too long in the future here. SK Telecom, though, putting a lot of pressure onto this mid lane. Bang pushing people away with the culling. A lot of damage on Fevin. Really connected well on that one. Oh, but here comes Rain over the top. Is FNATIC going to fight this? Might be tough. Bengi comes in. Faker's still full health. With all the damage that Fevin took, I think it's going to be tough to try to turn this into a team fight. Doesn't look like FNATIC wants to.
Well, they still have a Sivir here to wave clear, so they managed to scramble enough people into the mid lane that SKT will have a bit of trouble taking this turret.
Both teams do appear to be on the same page about what is needed to win this game right here. SKT continually moving towards this mid lane, and FNATIC is putting just enough threat to keep it going, but they are falling behind that curve a little bit. You can see the side waves are continually pushing in SKT's favor. FNATIC is getting poked out a little bit too much, especially by that culling from Bang, and that mid turret is getting chipped away at.
Yeah, it does not have a lot of health remaining at this point. Only about a third, it looks like. Bang continuing to push that lane. Marin's down in bot 2, actually. Maybe going to get a deep ward in here.
Just checking blue buff right now, seeing
I guess so.
How much pressure they can put on. They're trying to draw people away from mid. So
there it goes. Mid lane turret down. SK Telecom has killed all 3 outer turrets now.
Now they're pinging onto the blue buff. They want to take this next.
SKT is in the midst of a power spike. The death cap being completed onto Faker with 2 major items being completed onto Bang is potentially their strongest point in comparison to FNATIC team comp this game, and they need to take as much as possible out of this moment.
And we'll see what they can do. Faker moving up through the river. Maybe they can try to catch Huni here. They know he doesn't have the teleport at least.
Huni's really hard for Faker to gank, though. He has a Veil already.
That Banshee's Veil was a really smart first buy for Huni. Certainly has done well for him. Meanwhile, Faker will just be happy with a little bit more farm. And so, the game at this point, could we just kind of see it stall out right now until the next dragon?
It's going to be really hard for SKT to push through to get a tier 2, so I imagine that is what we're going to see,
The only way we'd see a fight beforehand, I feel like, is if SKT gets a little bit greedy with their deep ward placements in preparation for the dragon, or if FNATIC walks into a trap while trying to also get the wards for that dragon.
Well, for now, everybody playing really safe, and we can't blame them. Like, this game is balanced on a knife's edge. This is actually, I think, one of the closest games we've seen yet this tournament.
Absolutely. I'd say it is the closest game we've seen so far this tournament.
Well, look at the gold. It's dead even right now. You know, SKT just ahead by a single turret. Power level's pretty similar on both teams at the moment.
And it's the most subdued we've seen FNATIC play. They've been losing their minds in a lot of these games. As soon as they started falling behind, they'd go crazy. This game, they're making more calculated decisions, and honestly, SKT is mostly playing like SKT would. They're not doing silly things, and they're still trying to play around their win conditions here, which is going to be the Dragons. They had that setback right here, which is what's kept this game close 23.5 minutes in.
You know, even with the scaling that FNATIC has in late game, it's got to be a little bit daunting to know that you're going to have to deal with those SK Telecom team fight mechanics, but they've held their own so far.
I'm trying to set up a pick right now.
Yep.
Got a pink ward in that river brush.
Trying to FNATIC.
Let's see if they can get anything. No, they see the ward go down. Just going to sweep it out instead. So wait for the next minute and a half. SKT not comfortable pushing up too far at this point.
Well, Bengi's going to take down the Rift Coward, and he deserves it.
In games like this, I always love to track the trinket upgrades. So FNATIC actually has 3 upgraded yellow trinkets, which means they are spamming things with wards, but it also gives them a very low amount of pick potential because their vision denial is atrocious right now. Yes, they upgraded 4 of the trinkets, but it's just 1 upgraded trinket. As I say that, they find a pick.
Yep, Huni trying to make something happen here. Rainover came in. There's a culling to push them away. It looks like SKT will be able to disengage for now. And that ult down on Sejuani. Will that be something that SKT can maybe take advantage of here? Dragon up in 45 seconds.
Wolf's ult down as well, though, too. So that's pretty important for tanking out and being on the front line. When he's heading back into the top side at the moment, Faker going to recall and start to set up. Currently, though, SK Telecom has control over that river. And everyone has been pushed back a little bit here. Waves slowly moving forward in favor of SK Telecom. They're going to have to deal with Marin in the bottom at some point.
Yeah, this is I feel like the Alistar ult versus Sejuani ult and Sivir ult is a worthy trade for SKT in that sense.
Oh, yeah.
I think another reason Fnatic has gone for the triple sites wards is they know that SKT needs to find the picks, and also Fnatic doesn't necessarily need a vision advantage in order to find fights. Since they do have Sejuani, Sivir, Nautilus, those are fight starters right there. As soon as you look at someone, you can run straight at them and try and get it.
Speaking of fight starters, we may have one here in the next couple seconds. SK Telecom, though, taking that position. Looks like they may just go ahead and grab Dragon.
Without Sejuani ult or Sivir ult, this is a dangerous fight for
Yo,
but they're teleporting in with Gnar right now.
Alistar grabs Bang. Bang backs into the pit here. They're trying to make something happen. Bengi already taking a lot of damage. Wild Growth used on him. Dragon taken by SK Telecom. Can they get out? Huni comes in with a big Gnar ult. Meanwhile, Marin very low behind the pit. They'll get the kill on the Bengi. So Fnatic grabs a kill, but SK Telecom getting that crucial third Dragon.
A little awkward positioning there from Bang, and they had to use the Wild Growth onto Nunu, which meant that they couldn't actually defend that adequately. Now, they may try for a Baron right here.
If anything, this is also a Baron bait. Now the initiation ultimates are up for Fnatic. They are trying to draw SKT in. Because it would be a thing they have to go and stop. Here they come!
In trouble! Oh, he manages to get out, only slowed by the ult from Reignover. Reignover chasing anyway. Here comes Huni. Reignover gets so low already, though. Faker trapped the mid lane, has to flash away, Whimsy himself as well. Wolf may sacrifice his life for the team. Oh, Febiven goes in, gets the double up, Bang, and Faker in trouble. Double kill for Febiven. Marin late to the fight here, and Wolf on his own in the back lines. Febiven with a triple now. Oh, man! A kill for Steelback as well, and Fnatic destroys SKT in that fight.
SKT fell for it right there. Fnatic pulled the trigger on the Baron bait. The thing is, SKT had to check because Fnatic with the Cassiopeia has the power to burn that Baron down in seconds. That was the play for Fnatic to pull at the end of the Dragon fight.
Yeah, Bang did get slowed right there as we see him come in with the culling, but the chase is very good. Of course, that Sivir ult up, really nice setup, and Faker caught out a bit on the front line, and really it was Febiven with this flash into the choke point right here. Beautiful ultimate from Cassiopeia, and then just the line damage and the ricochets from Sivir finish that one off. Boomerang Blade for a double.
They call Steelback the janitor in the European LCS. He'll lose lane, but he will always pick it up in team fights down the stretch. And this was just a continuation of the long con there for Fnatic. The Dragon fight, when SKT overcommitted to take it, they had awkward positioning. They burned so many spells doing that. They sacrificed Bengi for the Dragon, but then the low health bars and the fact that people had to recall set up for that Fnatic Baron perfectly, and now Fnatic needs to press that advantage.
Oh, they're certainly trying.
They are.
Baiting Baron another one up, but the Scrying Orb's going to spot him this time, yep. Not going to fall for that 2 times in a row. SK Telecom may be looking for a fight here, although Marin not around. He does have that teleport. Now Fnatic just turning right onto that Baron. Looks like SKT's going to spot it.
Equalizer in the Baron pit is tremendously dangerous.
That's right. They're going to come in. There's the Equalizer going down. Splits the team a little bit. Bang still in a little bit of trouble. Zoning out from Bengi. Oh, SKT getting knocked around quite a bit. Bang in the middle of everything. Backs away. Gets killed anyway by Steelback. That's another double kill for him onto Sivir. And SKT, it may already be too late. They can't fight this Fnatic team anymore. Dragon, I mean, Baron did regenerate, and that's going to make it a little bit too dangerous. They may still pay for this one, but no. Looks like they'll be able to barely make it out.
Even though the Equalizer is down, it's far too dangerous with the Baron Magic Shred to keep on rolling with the Rumble and the Lulu at full HP in that pit. Now they eliminated Bang, and SK Telecom clumped up in a very preferable way for Fnatic during that team fight. So take a look.
Considering this is 15 kills to 3, these fights are tremendously close. So at the start of this, Wolf does get some nice pulverized damage right there, and Bang nearly peels himself to safety, but yes, the fact that they landed the Gnar stun into the dredge line is what kept Bang a little bit too close for comfort. They get caught up in the Cassiopeia once again, and that's that area damage and the team fight scaling we talk about Fnatic having. But still, if Bang is one character model farther back, he might be able to just rip through that fight.
It's been like really tiny errors that have led to these team fight losses for SK Telecom, but you know, every fight they lose just gives Fnatic a little bit bigger of a lead, and like we mentioned earlier, with the scaling that Fnatic has going into the late game, you really can't afford to give them any lead. It doesn't matter who you are. At some point, it's just going to be too much.
And I think if you're SKT right now, you're really looking to finally get that QSS onto Bang, because that's going to change a lot about these fights. Because if Bang can stay alive, he certainly has the farm to pull off some pretty major team fight wins right here, and that's what's been slowing him down a little bit, but they probably can't fight again until that item is complete, and Dragon up in a minute and a half. Looks like Fnatic will definitely have an advantage on that one, and they may just try and trade it for Baron. There are a lot of options that they can go for right here, so
sure enough.
Tough for SKT because they have to play both sides of the river at the same time, but Fnatic has their choice.
And Fnatic also has the Sivir ultimate to cover ground in case they're caught between two different decisions. And you can obviously see SKT is respecting that team fight power right now. They had a ton of wards around that Baron, but the pinks have just been able to be used by Fnatic to clear that out. And yeah, they're going to continue to bait out that Scrying Orb again and again. Now it's all on the Scrying Orb cooldown.
There we go.
SKT has to move up. They have to move up to clear that, but you can see now the lack of Trinket is preventing Fnatic from having great vision denial. Here they go.
Whoa. Didn't really do a whole lot. Ultimate onto Bang. There's
but he's there, Megador!
Oh, nice Gnar ultimate as well. SK Telecom caught yet again. Wild Growth. It keeps Bang alive though. Marin comes in with the kill onto Yellowstar, and Fnatic in a lot of trouble now. Steelback gets roasted. That's a double for Marin, and Bang's still up. SK Telecom, they finally save Bang, and look what happens. Marin comes in with a hero play, and Fnatic on the run. Feb in a little bit of trouble. There's the exhaust. Faker wants it. Bang gets it. Meanwhile, Huni sticking around. Looks like he may be able to make it out. He's trying to defend that tier 2, but I don't think you can do that against SK Telecom. Not right now. There it is. So SKT, man, you just can't count these guys out.
What a brilliant fight right there from SKT. It was Fnatic pulling the trigger to try and get Bang down, but that Nautilus ult tracked such a long distance that they could not follow enough damage for Bang, and now the Baron Force reversed is. Here comes Huni.
Man. They start the Baron, they turn on to Rain over. Huni right there as well. He's about to become Meganar. Wolf very low health. Huni comes in from behind, getting in position for that old Faker. Sway. He's stolen! There it is! Whoa! Rain over steals the Baron! And SK Telecom, what are they going to do? They're going to try to get some kills here. Oh, but look at this. Huni manages to grab one. SKT in the end, as Huni finally goes down with that Whimsy. Wow, Huni just will not die here. Now Steelback coming. What? Can he do enough damage? Are you serious? There's a kill for Steelback. And Fnatic, they steal the Baron. They get 2 kills off of it. They trade 2 of their own, but
they lost a Baron with Bengi with Consume and Smite.
I can't believe
Rainover gets in there and actually pulls it off.
Bengi didn't even smite that one.
Yeah, and this all started with this fight when they try and jump on Bang. Huni had the flank for teleport, but honestly,
good
the equalizer in the middle of the Nunu wall. You could not place it more perfectly in there, and a full channel wrecks Fnatic. Trying to dive through all that stuff is difficult for Fnatic, but that isn't even the craziest thing about this game. This is Fnatic making it their style game.
Now SKT was trying to get some position onto that.
They burned the Sivir ult though.
Sivir ult is down. Fnatic trying to get the second dragon. They've got the Baron right now. Double mystery gifting activated, guys. Don't forget.
It was a Baron steal. Round 15. Let's go.
Oh, stolen! Marin comes in from the back. Gets that. Oh, Febin takes him down. Big Wild Growth on the Bang. That was a big knockup. Can Bang be the hero again? Huni just so tanky right now. Yellowstar coming from behind. And here comes Steelback. Another big Gnar ultimate. And Fnatic as they take down Bang. No, Bang's still alive. But either way, it's another team fight win. That is a perfect ace for Fnatic after the Dragon steal from Marin. And Fnatic's going to push ahead. This is at least going to be an inhibitor, I would think.
Yeah, at the very least going to be an inhibitor. That's probably all they can get right now.
Yeah. At this point, this is the craziest game we've seen at MSI.
Seriously.
22 kills against SKT. The previous was 6 for the most kills they've given up in a game, and that was against TSM. Right here, Fnatic. This is nuts.
They don't get the inhibitor, they get the turret, but just not enough minions, having to tank too much turret damage, but still a big win for Fnatic.
But even though SKT, did you see the blue buff taken? Yeah, no equalizer right there, no backup. But even though we see the ace go over to Fnatic, they don't take the inhibitor. Let's take a look at this fight. So, Culling comes in first right here. Marin actually manages to take the dragon away, but not the best equalizer, and he does get picked off. Can't quite take out the Vivin right there.
And the fact that Steelback wasn't taken very low right there is a bit of an overcommit. And like, look how long that Bang actually lasts on the backside of this fight.
Wow.
Beautiful gnarl from Huni. He has been completely on point this game. And then again, we see Steelback coming in as a bit of the janitor. This time there was no equalizer to help zone for Bang. So when everyone's chasing after that one threat in a big line, they don't have as much line damage to throw at him, and eventually they can pick up the most kills. But yes, Monty, we need to take stock of this game because it has been so crazy.
That dragon was actually incredibly important that SK Telecom got it. And it may in fact be worth getting ace for, because if they get number 5, it really starts to change.
Dragon was on 22 health when Marin hit it with 100. That's how
Steelback.
Oh, Steelback might be in a little bit of trouble here. Marin turning. Yeah, here comes Faker, who's going to get the kill. Faker
shut down.
That shutdown. Faker's starting to get scary, man. He's got Death Cap. He's got the Void Staff. That's a lot of damage now for this Lulu, and they're going to push up to this tier 2 turret.
Yeah, and taking stock of what SK needs, they're still powering up in this sense. A QSS has been completed for Bang. If he finishes his Blade of the Ruin King, he will start being able to cut through Rainover and Huni, and especially with that catch that they've been able to get, how much damage can they actually think about doing to this since they have the Death Cap powered up Lulu? Bang gets shots in on this turret.
One thing I want to point out, though, is how fantastic Yellowstar has been at locking down Bang in this game.
Yeah.
His dredge lines, his ultimates have been on point.
Yeah, certainly been some bloodthirsty support. He's 1-2-14. That is not bad. I mean, it's crazy that the game feels as close as it does when you look at the kills, 9-22 right now. But like you mentioned earlier, that 4th dragon that SKT got is huge.
It's a farm, too.
Yeah.
The farm between Bang and Steelback is immense.
Yep.
So SKT has been controlling the side waves more in order to get those dragons, but as they're getting the dragons, Fnatic is right on their heels, and that's what's given Fnatic this big kill advantage. If we think about all the fights that have gone Fnatic's way, it was that second dragon fight when they got it, then the dragon that transitioned into the Baron, and finally the dragon steal for Marin that transitioned into the ace for Fnatic. Pretty much everything that Fnatic has gotten has been kind of because SKT's committed for those 4 dragons.
Faker's not here.
Fnatic wants this inhibitor, and the Wolf is taking a lot of damage. Rainover coming in. Are they going to be able to get the kill?
Marin's behind them.
Everyone moving in. Yeah, Marin trying to get a bit of a flank. Decides against it. They just need to protect that inhibitor, but they can't do it. Or maybe, nope, they can't. SKT turning things around, but Fnatic just waltzes in and takes the first inhibitor of the game.
Big mistake by SK Telecom. Fnatic seeing that everyone was split off into the side waves.
Yep.
And they're able just to push straight down the middle and take the inhibitor. Baron up in 1.5 minutes.
And Dragon up in 1:45 too. That's a big one.
Yeah, and Fnatic has been so opportunistic in this game. Anytime SKT commits for something or commits for some minion kills, they can go elsewhere. Blade the Ruin King completed onto Bang now. Faker sitting at 4 items, but the team fights again and again have gone to Fnatic. Both that Baron, those Baron and Dragons are coming up around the same time. If SKT gets either one of them, they can turn this game around. Fnatic needs to control it, but they do not have control of their minion waves.
SKT getting some nice deep wards in behind that Baron, just kind of keep an eye on things. Now they're going to move down, see if they can ward up that Dragon as well too. So the map is being prepared by SK Telecom. They are setting the battleground. You know, can they win the fight though?
Fnatic still pushing forward. I mean, they're going to have plenty of time to get a hold of the river once again, and they already have deep wards as well, so they're in a perfectly acceptable position at the time being.
Assuming we don't see a crazy pick, this fight will all be about how Fnatic can push through the tank line to get to Bang, and whether they get the burst.
Oh, high Rainover. Whoa! The wall, he comes with the flash, and he's going to take a lot of damage. SK Telecom, oh, big ult on the back below. There's the inhibitor. You don't want to go through that. And Huni taking a lot of damage. Nice ult for Marin, actually, to keep Fnatic away. Yellowstar bounce back into the team. And now SK Telecom getting 2 kills. Oh, boy, here we go. SKT chasing Steelback and Femivin. Back through again. Snowball, opposite of a fireball, onto Femivin. Bengi gets stunned with that ult. Femivin just trying to disengage. SK Telecom, I feel like they could just turn maybe and try to take Baron.
After those 2 kills, they got a lot of presence over here.
Yeah.
And there was a really weird interaction when Rainover tried to go over that wall. It looked like a bug on stream, but they're not pausing, though. I'm not sure. He could report that as a bug, because he looked to be on the other side of the wall.
He bounced back through the wall. That wasn't, he had to burn his flash afterwards. It's SKT
Baron right now, though.
Going for the Baron.
SK Telecom takes the Baron. Fnatic going for this Dragon, though. At least they can keep that 5th Dragon away from SKT. Marin trying his best though. He stole one. Can he steal another one? No, turning back onto Steelback. Oh, Steelback meanwhile just blows up Marin. Fnatic gets that second dragon. But SK Telecom with the Baron.
Not sure what Marin was doing there. His team
That was a bit odd.
Not anywhere close to being able to contest that. It's like Faker just going to prep the red buff for Bang right now, who's on his way over.
Yep.
This game just continued in craziness as Sejuani dashed overall, then looked like it glitched back on the other side. But the important thing here is Steelback critting Marin a couple of times in a row and blowing him up.
No
they could then secure the dragon. SKT has the Baron.
Well, this is part of the peril of going for the death cap build for Marin as well. I mean, Steelback is huge right now. 9-2 and 7, no Zhonya's on him yet. And he went for the damage, and in a way he's paying for it. They need a little bit more frontline presence.
Yeah, that may have been just a little bit too cocky. Trying to go for that death cap instead of that Zhonya's for the second item. Oh man, that's rough. Fnatic though, got that dragon. They prevented the fifth. SK Telecom still on the back foot here. You can see they're not really able to use that Baron right now.
Well, in that last team fight, you really saw the difference that the Blade of the Ruined King was making too. They were finally able to focus down Huni.
Culling does a little bit of damage, not a ton. Oh, Bang really going after Fnatic right now.
This is Bang's moment. This is why Lulu can be a good late game champion as well. If you have a capable AD carry who's been able to farm this whole game, which he has, 384 CS, with the item build that he needs, he can cut through Fnatic if they don't quickly get onto him and execute him through thousands of health worth of shields. Plus the Baron buff means Fnatic pretty much has to fight on the next minion wave.
Yep. See if
Marin still split pushing, does have TP available. They want to make a stand, but Fnatic's so tanky that they can body block a lot of this damage and have that presence. SK Telecom moving into the top side of the map. See if they can find an angle up there. Big, big minion wave that Marin's built up.
Huni is just huge though, but he's not going to be Mega Gnar anytime soon. Getting closer now. Looks like Fnatic will be able to prevent this. SK Telecom, you get the impression that they may need to win a team fight here to push farther, but that turret's pretty low.
Figure has Lichbane, so they can split push.
Okay.
Yeah, and they're going to be running Fnatic back and forth within their own base and chipping down these turrets during the duration of this Baron buff and basically force Fnatic to engage on them through the zoning potential of Alistar, Nunu, and Rumble. Look at the chipping they've been able to do to both the mid and the top lane turrets right here. And since there's no flank from Fnatic, it's a very difficult fight for them to do. Huni actually just ran out of Mega Gnar. This is SKT's turret to take.
That's right, and take it they do. Huni not too helpful at the moment with that Narbar all the way down. Marin grasping a bit. Bang comes in as well. Huni has to retreat. Looks like this inhibitor may go down, so both mid inhibitors now taken out for each team, and SK Telecom just going to back off. Sivir all popped. Are they going to go? Oh, Huni didn't quite get to Bang. Meanwhile, Wolf comes back with a headbutt pulverize. Great equalizer comes down. Rain over, trying to get the back lines, but Bengi with a big absolute zero. Marin is huge, literally, because that wild growth. Huni manages to catch Faker with his ultimate, but Faker back away. Fnatic in big trouble. Double kill for Bang already. Make it a triple kill, and now SK Telecom, despite that big up for Febiven.
Bang's going in!
Oh, Febiven near Penta! That's a pentakill, I believe. Yes, it is! For Bang and SK Telecom. Can they end it right now? There's no minion wave, not for a few seconds, but they've got
no tankiness either. No minion wave, no super minions at the base yet. I think they have to hold off.
Oh, they've got
It's 30-second death time.
So
That's a super minion.
There it is, first
a
one.
real super minion. A pentakill and a Baron steal in the same game.
Are you kidding me?
It's a hell of a game.
Well, Fnatic gave SK Telecom a run for their money like nobody else could, but in the end, SKT takes the game. They're 4-0. GG. What a game. What an ending.
You know,
crazy.
Best game of the mid-season Invitational thus far.
Absolutely. But the more I see this comp from SK Telecom, if you guys missed the SKT versus CJ Game 4, it was just as much of a thriller.
Oh, yeah.
I'm still not sold that this is a really good composition.
It works.
It's an exciting composition.
It is the most exciting composition, but it does have some issues, I think.
It certainly does, but either way, it worked well enough to get SK Telecom the win. Fans on their feet right now after that pentakill from Bang.
I mean, so many things to talk about at this game. They were down 10 kills by the end of it, only an 1,100 gold lead when the Nexus fell. the fact that Bang hit those item power spikes as well as Faker being able to shield them, and when Fnatic failed to get the flank in that final team fight after their inhibitor had gone down, that's right in the wheelhouse of the team fight that SKT wants.
Oh, yeah.
And you give them one of those fights, they win the game.
The kiting too from Bang in that last fight.
Beautiful.
That's one of the things that I love about watching Bang play Lucian is he knows exactly the right time to turn and then clean up the fight.
Yeah, Bang's Lucian is really kind of getting to be something to be absolutely terrified of. And so, with that, SK Telecom, it was close, but still undefeated today. So now, guys, let's head to the analyst desk for some more insight into that game.
Thank you, Doa. I mean, that game, that was an exciting game. We've seen some stomps, we've seen some surprising games, but this was a game that kept us on the edge of our seats for the entirety of it. I do love the fight that Fnatic put up. I love their aggression. These guys did not want to go down.
I think that Fnatic exactly got what they wanted in this game. They got ahead in kills. Steelback sadly, again, behind in the CS. I think he has a average CS differential by minus 25 CS by 20 minutes, and that's actually huge over all the games that he has played. Coming back though, Huni really huge for the team, coming to the mid lane, getting the first blood on Faker, roaming twice before Marin. I think Huni was the reason they came out ahead really in the early game.
My favorite part about the game was the compositions that these teams were running. The first one on Fnatic's side is a heavy AoE run at you with Sivir. You get the Cassiopeia ulti for even more lockdown, Nara, Sejuani, clump them together, pile them onto your team. Lots of damage, and they play to that strength. On the other side, SKT's comp is more of a protect the Lucian composition with Rumble kind of ulting the backline. You saw everybody pile driving the Lucian, trying to make sure that he stays there, because Lulu isn't necessarily a carry, more of a supportive AP, and Rumble without the Zhonya's is very easy to blow up. And in the team fights, we see how the ones that Fnatic wins are the ones that they manage to get all their damage onto Bang. The ones that they lose, well, he barely escapes, but it's a little bit of a misplay.
Yeah, and the composition that SKT was running is actually a really, really amazing composition in my opinion, because Rumble's going to provide a ton of magic damage, cover that option, Lulu as well. But then Help Picks actually interacts with Lightslinger, proccing the Help Picks twice. And what it does is it's 15% of your AP if all of them hit. So off of that, that's 30% of his AP, when plus 100 base damage per shot. So Lucian's doing 320 extra magic damage every time he gets a Lightslinger passive off. And that's why he's running through the team, and he gets a Blade of the Ruined King eventually to deal with the tanks, because he's not a tank shredder naturally.
Right, on top of that, you have the Alistar button people away from him. You have Nunu, you have Lulu to give him the ultimate, speed him up, shield him. I mean, it is almost impossible to get to Bang in this composition.
Yeah, I feel like we saw pretty much defend the Lucian against go on the Lucian as hard as you can. And that is a style that Fnatic is really used to play, and what we saw them going actually into the LCS split really heavily with Rengar, Lissandra, lock down the carries and instantly kill them. And I feel this is really a comfortable champion pool that they went for this game and executed it perfectly. I think Yellowstar, as I think Monty also said, really on point with the lockdown.
I think Fnatic played most of the fights very well, but I do think that Bengi was lackluster in understanding his role within that composition. We saw him try to be a frontline and kind of distract Sivir on the side when she was very tanky. You know, he's going for a bit of a magic resist build. You can't stand in the front line versus a composition that has so much damage from Fnatic. You need to be really far back with the Lucian and use your snowball on the Gnar. The Gnar auto attacks hurt a lot. Use it on the Sejuani. Don't stand and try to zone the Sivir. That's why Sivir's not a hyper carry, because she's a short range mage AD. You don't need to zone her. She practically zones herself.
I want to jump into our replay to continue talking about the interaction between these two teams. So we're going to pull that up, and Irene, you can continue.
I feel like this is how he should play the Nunu, is just zone everybody away and kind of create two different fights. You're going to see Bengi here use the ultimate, keep Featherden out. He actually misses his ultimate there, and then Bang survives. Faker comes around the side, pours everything onto Bang, and now Bang gets to output so much damage into this fight right afterwards. And I think that Bengi, although he gets extremely low from it, I think that's the proper way to play the Nunu here.
I think it's important to note, though, for this team fight, they pile drive the CC on the Lucian, and if Vivian walks up, just out of range to hit the Cassiopeia ulti. That would have won them. That would have won them the fight. But he missed the ultimate on Bang, and then they just get cleaned up after.
Scared of the Nunu, and if he had walked into the zone, he may have been a little too slow to actually cover that distance to get in range.
And not only that, I think on top of that, what we can see is 3 flashes up for Fnatic after this fight, especially on Cassiopeia, who could have easily go on Bang and instantly kill him there. And I think the teamfight would have been absolutely different because Fnatic was so far ahead at this point. I think they could have just snowballed from there.
But that was the story of the entire game, was teamfight after teamfight. Fnatic taking a lot of them through that mid game in their favor. I do also want to look at, though, the way that the gold was even through the earlier stages of the game. However, it wasn't even in turrets. However, Fnatic up in kills, down in CS, and you already mentioned Steelback, but that I feel could be the downfall of them in this tournament if they can't shore up those weaknesses.
I think SKT did a really good job of playing to their strengths and playing to the weaknesses of Fnatic. They exploited Steelback. As soon as Steelback was down in CS and they bullied that lane, well, you would see Marin, he'd die in the lane, he'd be like, okay, TP to a minion to just stop him from farming again. And then as Steelback would go up to the jungle, Nunu would walk in and steal the wolves that he was trying to do. They're just trying to starve him out and make sure he didn't get anything and get into the game at all.
Right, well, that being said, SKT leading up to this had averaged about a 1.2k gold lead at 10 minutes. Marin had the highest average gold lead for at MSI of anyone with 750. Didn't happen here, though. Yeah. And I think that is something that I want to look at in terms of what can teams learn from what Fnatic did to give themselves a better shot earlier on against SKT.
Well, even against the Turkish team, SKT has been notorious for giving quite a few early kills, and Fnatic took advantage of that greatly. Good roams by them, and really sticking to the game plan, knowing where the weaknesses of SKT lie. And, you know, eventually you take so many team fights, and you're bound to lose a couple in such team fighting decided games. It's only one that needs to happen for you to win.
I really see that whenever SKT is going into mid-game or early game control style, they have this point from where everything is controlled and they know how the lanes are. And usually how the games are happening is somebody is like getting pushed in and they do something they don't expect. I didn't see any kind of top lane roam like this before in the tournament. They were really not expecting it and hit them hard.
That's really big. I feel like the thing to take away from this game is top lane influence, even without a TP. Because this is something that SK Telecom used to do with Impact in the top lane Season 3, before TP was a big thing. He would roam down to mid and gank for Faker randomly, and you're like, whoa, 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 why is the top laner and the support here? And they would snowball that lane really hard. So I think that people should take away from this that top laners need to be aggressive sometimes and actually influence other lanes and almost be like a second jungler sometimes after you shove the wave.
The next thing I want to bring up here is the pick ban phase against SKT. Again, we've talked about the threats on their team. Faker, you always have to ban the LeBlanc. The Lulu, though, that comes out, and how this is kind of the crux of this team composition here. You remove the Lulu, all of a sudden Lucian's DPS drops through the floor, and his safety does as well.
I'm going to have to disagree with that one because they banned the LeBlanc, the Kalista, and the Rek'Sai. So 3 other key champions that have been undefeated for quite some time. And you're just going to have to take a hit. When these teams are so good, you're going to have to let one of the power picks slide through. And you put the Lulu on Faker, now he's not a carry threat. He has to get really in the late game for him to do enough damage to one-shot somebody out of nowhere. He's more of a supportive player for Bang. So I liked what they did with the pick and man. It was the execution that could have been refined and they would have had to win.
I like that we also had to see another element of Bengi here, see him on the Nunu, because he kept getting that Rek'Sai, and it's like, this guy is so good on his early games.
I like the Rek'Sai more than the Nunu.
You know, talk about Rek'Sai, though. Let's just talk about Rek'Sai in general in this tournament has been phenomenal. It wasn't really performing so well post Cinderhulk, 37% win percentage across the regions, but in this tournament, just a high priority, and I think a portion of that has to be due to the speed of these games. These games are ending a lot quicker.
I think it has to do with the adaptation that before, with the introduction of Cinderhulk, a lot of people refused to switch over from Warrior Enchantment Rek'Sai to Cinderhulk and be more of a frontline CC bot. People still want to be, oh, I want to be a carry, build a Hydra and my Warrior's Enchantment. Now they're just, okay, we'll build full tank, go with the Cinderhulk, use a ground passive, and just become a threat of knockup every time. And once that change has been made, Rek'Sai's win rate, I think, has been soaring ever since.
Yeah, I think Rek'Sai is really strong right now, especially on live, too, with Black Cleaver. Like, if you want to build that, I think it's really potent.
Well, yeah, I can't wait to see that item appear in competitive play. Sheepy, to you, Fnatic here, that's a long game. So physically exhausting. It's a game that you were ahead in, that you looked like you were going to win. You didn't. How does Fnatic, and I'm asking you this as a coach, how do you as a team get yourselves prepared for the next match that you have with your spot in the playoffs on the line?
I feel Fnatic should feel comfortable really here. What they did was a really great showing against supposedly the strongest team in this entire tournament. And I think that they held their own. They did really well. Maybe talk a little bit and tweak a little bit Steelback's performance in this game. A lot of missed spell shields, and I think you should just calm down, talk with the rest of the team, and especially how Huni is performing in this tournament is just sensational for me. And this is how I like my Huni. Like, he does really, really well, and the TP games were on point, I think. If they play the game like this, they shouldn't have a problem in the upcoming matches.
You know, I have a feeling Spawn would like to be on the desk for this one, because we talk about EDG, or he talks about EDG being a better version of Fnatic. We now see what Fnatic playing, you know, at the top of their game can do against SKT. If EDG is that level of execution that you're talking about, Crumbs, we could be in for a pretty sweet game between those two teams when they meet up again.
Yeah, especially looking at the weaknesses of SKT right now. Clearly weaker without the Rek'Sai, and I thought Marin was a little bit unflexible in willing to change his item build. Still going with the early death cap. You got to recognize you need to be a bigger frontline threat with the Hourglass early. He didn't have it until like the last team fight in that game. You need to be able to recognize that you have to adapt your build on the fly, and every Rumble game we've seen, he goes for the death cap. And I'm a little worried for Bengi if he's not getting the Rek'Sai, and I think this ban from Fnatic really opened up the entire of the teams that will play SKT to just perma-ban it.
Damn, and I'm really happy actually to see SKT struggle, because they seemed so unbeatable. And this time they were like actually down in CS, down in kills, and were really on the back. And I think that Fnatic could have actually won this game if they didn't get caught out at some points. And
yeah, they definitely had a good chance to win this game, especially with what they had drafted and the way they played the early game. And you touched on Marin. Marin, that was his worst early game that we've seen this entire tournament. This is the first time we've seen him actually have pressure on him, because Huni was affecting other lanes. Huni TP'd like a good 2 seconds before he did, which is not what you see from Marin all the time. Marin's usually the one with the pressure who's like, I'm going to force your TP first to answer me. But Huni was actually playing that game first, and that's really good to see, because this tournament, we talked a lot about top laners, talked a lot about mid laners. Top laners, I think, are actually one of the bigger things, because the skill disparity between mid lane is not becoming something where like, oh, that guy got solo killed in lane. Top laners are having a little bit more solo kills. Top laners are having more influence on the map when TP's up or down, or it's been pressured out. So I think top lane and the style that we're seeing from these top laners is something that we really had to focus on moving forward in this tournament.
Well, so then in regards to top laners across the entire tournament, let's take a moment to dissect them individually, right? So we're looking at Marin, we're looking at Koro, we're looking at Huni. Where do you guys see these matching up? If you had to make a pick, who are you throwing your money on?
Okay. As a representative from Spawn, he would probably say Koro is the best top lane. But I actually,
he's not on the desk.
He's not on the desk, but I have to speak for him. I feel like Huni is actually doing fantastic in this entire tournament. Every play that Fnatic sets up is actually Huni TPing behind, putting some kind of pressure, ganking mid lane. This guy is all over the map, putting pressure everywhere. It's just incredible to see how well he performs.
So is that a Koro or a Huni?
That is a definite.
You can't do both.
Just Spawn said Koro.
Yes, Spawn said Koro.
Sheepy saying Huni.
Definitely Huni.
Perfect.
I'm going to go with Koro, just because I think that we have yet to see him really be exploited. And, I mean, with the exception of the game that they had against SKT, where I think that the entirety of the team just was dismantled.
I think that was literally just Def picking Tristana, in my opinion.
Well, eventually they all collapsed. But I think that Koro has less visible weaknesses. Like, it happens in the LCK a lot. Marin gets put behind early. Like, he does die a lot, and he seems to be reckless in terms of his positioning during the laning phase. If he gets going, yeah, he's fine to carry. But if you put pressure on him at the right times, he does tend to give quite a bit of gold.
So that's Huni.
Is that another Huni? Zyrene, thoughts on Marin specifically, because that rumble that he keeps getting is really scary.
I think his rumble is extremely potent, and it plays into the team fight style, and then they're just like, all right, we're just going to brawl you. We're going to play around mid-game power spikes, which I think is a big strength of SKT, is when you get cheap power spikes, they push them to get an even larger advantage, and then they snowball from there. But if I had to pick a top laner, it's Koro.
All right, well, we've just spoken over a lot, but in regards to Reignover's attempted Sejuani Q over a wall in that match, Fnatic would have needed to pause the game and ask referees to confirm the bug in order to get a remake. Since they did not, the result stands. Referees are still investigating the issue. All teams are aware of the remake policy and how to respond in the case of a potential bug. Now, with 4 games on the books, let's take a look back at some of today's action so far. After EDG got the better of a few trades in Game 1 versus Fnatic, there was absolutely no stopping them. This was that clash of the same play style that we talked about at the beginning of the day.
I think that EDG actually played this really convincing, baiting out Fnatic and always coming back at this point. And this is every time how we see Fnatic lose, when they get this airtime. Don't really know if they should engage or not, and then they just get slapped around and beaten.
This is the heartbreaking play, too, where they don't go after Koro. He goes in the bush. Where'd he go? Oh, yeah. Now let's go after Pawn, who only has 1 spell rotation really left in his pool.
Yeah.
And then,
this was one of those Rek'Sai Warrior games where he attempted to make the carry with it, wasn't able to do so. Maybe he would have burned him to death. Don't need to see him to burn him to death, right?
0% win rate with Warrior.
Exactly. Our next one, HQ, displayed their dominance earlier today, locking in their spot in tomorrow's semifinals against TSM.
I like right here how Bjergsen waits for the fish to actually jump him up, because if he took the lantern first, he would have clumped up his entire...
Would have been even worse, but it still didn't end well.
But look at how far away Dyrus has to TP into this fight, just off on the right side.
And he's like, where's the rest of my team?
He's just going for a stroll.
There's a fight somewhere.
He's a horse. He needs to run.
They were already pretty far behind at this point.
And they follow Lust Boy into the Dragon Pit. They pick up the Dragon on the back end of that. And of course, in Game 3, EDG also locked in their spot in tomorrow's playoffs, looking on top of their game finally.
Yeah, I think that the only big mistake they did in this game was the overchase and double doge with 4 versus 1.
That's always a mistake.
Yeah, this is always a mistake.
That's that combination at the bottom lane right there.
Just don't do that. But overall, they just played it really confident, and I think nobody's surprised that they came out ahead.
This fight's just really
He almost gets it.
Oh! How strong
with a blue card.
Right here, just barely makes it up.
Tribute to Red Tail there.
Oh, shots fired. Hey, you don't know, man. Maybe we'll see Reginald in the final game of the day. Something could happen.
They have him as a sub?
He is the sub. You never know. All right, well, with only 3 games left in the group stage and 1 playoff spot still on the line, let's take a look at the standings. Fnatic can still lock in that last playoff spot with a win later today versus Besiktas Esports. Otherwise, we could be looking at a 3-way tie between Fnatic, TSM, and Besiktas if EDG beats TSM in today's next match. That means we would have to have 2 additional matches at the end of the day. Coming up in just a few minutes is that big test for the hometown favorites as Bjergsen and Team Solo Mid take on Pawn and Edward Gaming. Stay with us.
Just focus on communicate, it'll be fine. Just playing something like Scream, actually, you know? He's proven.
Absolute zero goes off. Yellowstar gets the kill anyway. Wolf in a little bit of trouble. But here comes Faker. Here comes Mara. Reignover coming in. Rumble. Lucian. Here. Okay. Push me. SK Telecom caught yet again. Wild Growth. It keeps banging alive though. Marin comes in with the kill on the Yellowstar. And Fnatic in a lot of trouble now. Getting in position for that old Faker. Spikes away.
He's going!
There it is. Whoa! Reignover steals the Baron.
Bang's going in.
Oh, Febiven near Penta. That's a pentakill, I believe. Yes, it is. For Bang. SKT takes the game. They're 4-0. GG.